For the third consecutive year, LA's Emmy Award-winning news. News at 10 here on Channel 5, KTLA, Los Angeles. Channel 5 presents the movie for a Sunday evening. Tonight, travel to the ocean floor where danger is a way of life and life is terminal.
Damage control, stand by.
Brave the uncharted. Voyage to the bottom of the sea.
Explode the belt and you explode the world.
In just a moment, the original Irwin Allen Disaster Spectacular, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. Tonight's feature on the movie for a Sunday evening.
Right here in Los Angeles, Marineland. A totally different exotic world that you can actually enter, see, encounter, touch, experience the captivating, the fascinating, the frightening, the utterly fantastic. Nowhere else can you be so close to so much wonder. And it's all so close by at Marineland.
Overlooking the ocean on the beautiful Palos Verdes Peninsula, open daily.
Mother, Sue brought you a softer tissue Kleenex Soft Teak.
Our families always use these.
You need Sue's Soft Teak tissues.
Virgil, nothing softer than ours. Is Soft Teak really softer?
Really? See, only Soft Teak adds a special softness fiber for extra special softness.
Soft Teak tissue is softer. Well done, Virgil.
When your nose needs the softest, Soft Teak tissues.
Every year, the Cooper brothers of North Coast, Alaska stock up on rich, hearty coffee for the long, cold winter. Each spends the same amount. But while Bud buys ordinary coffee, Ed buys Hills Brothers High Yield. It's specially roasted to give him more delicious coffee for his money. So long about February, while Ed's still enjoying his High Yield, Bud runs out.
Hello, Ed?
Nope.
Taste Hills Brothers High Yield. More delicious coffee for your money.
It's here, Beano's grand opening of our sports shoe department. Save $10 on Nike's most popular Oceania jogging shoe, only $14.95 at all Southland Beano's.
And now, Channel 5's movie for a Sunday evening presents Walter Pidgeon, starring in Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
And now, Lucky presents A Summer Salad Symphony. And for the grand finale, it's all discount priced every day at Lucky.
N-I-S-S-A-N, Datsun. Come in here to get it. We're Datsun, better hurry, 'cause they're moving fast.
You need fuel economy and interior room. Front-wheel drive, and the car's got a zoom. The affordable Nissan Sentra, the car you need at the price you'll love. See the new selection at your Southern California Datsun dealer now.
We're Datsun dealers, Datsun. We're dealing. We're gonna make your money last.
I know it's downright upright to serve Harvey's Bristol Cream when I invite Michael over. But what if I also invite Steve and Paul? Bristol Cream becomes downright sociable. It has a smooth, classic taste, and it's light, and it mixes in a number of interesting ways.
Susan, you really know how to throw a big party.
I know. I'm good at small parties, too.
Harvey's Bristol Cream.
It's downright sociable.
If you're looking for an action-packed summer, look out, because she's back. LA's favorite superheroine, Wonder Woman, returns to Channel 5 every weeknight at 6, starting Monday. And beware, because she's not alone. Weeknights at 7 beginning Monday, David Carradine returns as Kane in Kung Fu, bringing the mysteries of the East and fighting the brutality of the West. Wonder Woman at 6 and Kung Fu at 7. It all starts Monday only on Channel 5.
Introducing the only lemon-freshened detergent for a clean that breaks the static barrier. Introducing new Fab with full-strength fabric softener.
Full-strength fabric softener plus full-strength detergent in new Fab? Fabulous! No more staticky socks or clingy wash, and such a fabulous clean.
Towel soft, Mom.
And lemony fresh.
Get a clean that breaks the static barrier.
Your Fab, we're glad there's full-strength fabric softener in you.
Your Southern California Mazda dealers announce a special truck purchase.
Sakes alive, sakes alive.
During this factory-supported sale, the Mazda B2000 Sun Donner is an even better value than $57.95. You can save hundreds now on the one economy truck that comes with a 5-speed steel-belted radials, full carpeting, all standard. Sakes alive! Beat $57.95 during this factory-supported sale.
Save hundreds now. See your Southern California Mazda dealer today. Sale ends June 30th.
Sizzler presents honest to goodness Pacific lobster. A delicious way to treat yourself. It's sweet, it's tender, its delicate taste enhanced by a buttery sauce. And so you can live it up even more, Sizzler serves it with a juicy sirloin steak. Pacific lobster and steak. Only at Sizzler can you splurge like this and skimp on the price.
Beautiful drink. Tap Cola. For beautiful people. Tap Cola. You're beautiful to me. Real Cola tastes just 1 calorie. Tap Cola. What a beautiful drink. Tap Cola. For beautiful people. Tap Cola. You're beautiful to me. Great taste, 1 calorie. Tap.
A lot of underwear may look the same. Believe me, it isn't. No one makes Jockey brand quality but Jockey. Not everyone uses 100% pure comb cotton or real rubber in the waistband and leg openings like Jockey. Jockey is tailored for comfort, handcrafted to fit, to last, and to keep its shape. Sure, Jockey brand costs a little more, but you get a lot of quality and value for your money.
Jockey, a commitment to quality and value.
PSA's new service launch is on. PSA now takes off for Portland every day, and there's more. Catch our daily service to Spokane, and more every business day. 3 nonstops to Albuquerque, Portland, Oregon, Spokane, Washington, and Albuquerque, New Mexico with a smile. Try us. You'll see how PSA won the West with a smile.
Catch our smile, super smile, PSA.
There's more than one way to keep up with the cost of living.
At Ralph's, you get 21 ways.
Like Switch and Save number 5, low prices on top quality produce.
Oh, and Ralph's has up to 130 kinds of fresh fruit and vegetables in the basket.
There's one store that gives you more with 21 ways to save.
First of season seedless grapes, 79 cents a pound. Ralph's gets first pick. You're first to enjoy.
Switch and save more than a buck a bag at Ralph's.
How are we today?
Freddie's going home today.
You should see his bill.
$30,000.
Well, you know hospital care is over $500 a day.
And your Medicare doesn't cover everything.
Well, yeah, but I got myself Blue Cross, and you...
Are you kidding? I've got Blue Cross, and you've got Blue Cross, right?
This year, 1 in 7 Americans will wind up in the hospital. Call Blue Cross toll-free at 800-772-3200 about an individual plan, just in case.
In a moment, we'll return to the movie for a Sunday evening.
Around here, it's still early to bed and early to rise. We just try not to overdo it.
Welcome to Miller Time.
It's all yours, and it's all mine.
Bring your thirsty self right here. You've got the time, we've got the beer for what you have in mind. Oh, welcome to Miller Time.
The best beer for the best time of the day. Miller High Life.
The Adventures of Conan, a sword and sorcery spectacular. Coming live to Universal Studios Tour.
This gleaming brand.
Welcome, everyone. I hope everybody's having a wonderful beginning of their week so far. I've had better. I won't get into it. Has nothing to do with YouTube, though, which brings me to an interesting point here. Let me just drop this link here. Because I will be playing, I will be streaming Down the Rabbit Hole News's interview with this person. So please do me a favor, and while you're piling in here, click on that link and sub up to her. And the link to the actual video is in the description. So please click on that link and give this video a like. It's very important that you do, because this video deserves all the likes. So Down the Rabbit Hole News did a fantastic job. And I mean, she got so lucky because she was, and I don't mean lucky like, oh, lucky duck. No, we got lucky. I should put it that way, because this gentleman, Mr. Matt Esquire, this gentleman just happened to be watching her stream covering this default judgment on Cancel Karen. Sorry, it just makes me laugh just thinking about the case. Oh, we're going to have some laughs too. Like hearing it from Ray Andriacchio's attorney himself. Now, he just happened to be in her chat. I guess he was just going through YouTube and saw her live and went into her chat, and then he was invited up and he spoke extremely candidly to Down the Rabbit Hole News and her audience about Canceled Karen's default judgment. Oh my God, bro. So yeah. And I love when that happens with really good and really scrupulous and kind-hearted creators. Like, I love to see that happen to channels like Down the Rabbit Hole News. Super stoked about that. So please, if you're not subbed up to her, sub up to her. And if you haven't watched the video yet, just go into the description and click on the link. It is at the very bottom of the description. Click on that link and just give the video a like. Please do that. That would mean the world to me if you did. Now I'm drinking coffee, which kind of brings me to my next point. But I was drinking coffee then too. But now, been getting a little bit of a pushback on something that happened. I was on Morbid Realities. I was on his live stream when he was discussing the Heels in the Air thing. And Heels in the Air jumped on panel, of course. And she was, I got to tell you guys something. Now, I can get pretty heated. There's no doubt about that. I'm not going to try to deny that. Give me just 1 second. Now, okay, honestly, I did have a couple of beers for the members only chat, but I did not drink enough beer to actually get intoxicated. If I was, I would own it. There's no reason why I wouldn't. But it would be dishonest of me to say that I was actually intoxicated, because by the time I started Morbid Stream, I was drinking coffee. I had just a couple of beers, but it takes me easily at least a 12 pack. Like, you guys who are in my Patreon have seen me put away an entire bottle of scotch. Easy. So a couple of beers isn't gonna get me to go into a rage, as it was made out to be by very irrelevant channels. But now, oh, Cheesy Wheezy, I'm not. Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Now, I did get very, very heated at one point, and I can explain to you why I got so heated. Because, as clipped many, many times, you saw her being asked direct questions where, if I asked her if she exclusively targeted Black families of victims in her website. I asked her numerous times. She continued to dodge the question until she would finally admit so, because she would go, "Oh, well, well, not on. I was web sleuths, not on web sleuths. I was like, I didn't ask you about web sleuths. I asked you about your site, Renews It. That's what I asked you about. Renews It. Okay. And when someone is making everyone else seem like they're crazy when they look at evidence in the true crime community, the evidence being she is targeting victims of Black families. She is families of Black victims, excuse me. She's admitting to it and then denying being racist. Well, here's the thing. I don't like liars, and I sure as fuck don't like racists. Okay? I want to be abundantly clear about that. And Nana all day, kiss my ass. Okay? Because you're gonna get that nasty behavior now too. Okay? A lot of people feel as though it was misogynistic of me to use the word cunt because I was saying it to a woman. Well, if you watch this channel regularly, I will use the word cunt to describe men too. So at no point was I thinking about the fact that she was a woman when I would use this word, this very ugly word that a lot of people don't like. I happen to love the word, and I use it freely, and I don't make excuses for it. And this is the kind of channel that will use words. Cherry likes the word cunt. And this is the kind of channel where I do not hold back, and I use very colorful language, and I'm not ashamed of the fact that I use very colorful language. And if you are a racist who targets Black families who have children who were murdered, and you leaked autopsy photos of a minor because you didn't like the color of that minor's skin and you didn't like her mother speaking out wanting justice, well, in my opinion, that makes you a fucking racist cunt. Okay? So if anybody has any more questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Feel free to leave them in chat. But I stand by it, and I would say it again. People are asking me, you're not a racist? What would make me a racist? Are you asking me if I'm a racist because you're a racist trying to justify your own shitty behavior? Because this is what's really funny. These people will do racist, ugly, fucked up shit and then deny being racist when all of the actions dictate that you're racist. And then you have the audacity to sit up on a YouTube channel and act like you're a victim of attacks, of unfounded attacks. No, that makes you a cunt. Man or woman, doesn't matter. So for those of you who are thinking that I'm a misogynist because I'm not sensitive to the women who are offended by that word, too fucking bad. I really don't care. I honestly don't. So that's my response to that. That's all I'm going to say about it. And that's not the last time you're going to hear me call a man or a woman a cunt. I hope I was clear enough. So anyway, speaking of cunts, Canceled Karen was sued by a mother of an alleged victim. We don't know. It was never determined that her son, Christian Andreacchio, was murdered, but she believes with all her heart that he was. And she believes with all her heart that he was. And there was a lot of attacks coming from Canceled Karen. But the thing you got to understand about Canceled Karen, okay? Formerly known as the Critical K, but forever known as Canceled Karen. The thing you got to understand about her is this is what she does. It just so happens that Ray Andreacchio was the only one who spoke up and actually took action against her. She is not the only victim that Canceled Karen has gone after and attacked. She's not the only one. She's just the only one who actually spoke up and took action and took her to court. And then we saw how Canceled Karen buckled up in the whole thing. And we're actually going to hear Ray Andreacchio's attorney confirm this in detail as to how it happened. Now, she was sued originally for $10 million. And as I love to say, Canceled Karen doesn't have $10 million. So, but I got to ask a couple of questions in the chat, and Rabbit was nice enough and kind enough to highlight my questions and address those to Mr. Matt, and he answered them. So I won't go into that until we're going over the actual interview. So I'm not trolling. I could see a lot of people there's quite a few feathers ruffled in chat. Well, but I'm not deliberately trolling, Grandmaster. I mean, I'm just telling you how it is. This is how it's going to be on this channel. This is how it's always been on this channel. It's if anybody's sitting here acting as though now I get it, because let me go back into this real quick before I go back into the Canceled Karen stuff. I get it because I got angry, and that could be somewhat triggering. So I will apologize to those of you who saw me lose my temper, because that could be very triggering if you're somebody who has been a part of a relationship of any kind, whether it be with your parents or with a significant other, and someone yells and screams. Totally understandable, and I'm sorry if I triggered anybody in that sense. But as far as the language that I used, I will not apologize for, because I always use this language, and I don't give a shit about people who are triggered by certain words that do not come from an origin of hatred. Okay? So just because some people use the word in a hateful manner, it doesn't mean that I do. And it does not come from an origin of hatred. So I do not regret using that word, and I've always used the word, and I'm going to continue to use the word. So, but I will apologize to some who saw me lose my temper, but I believe that I was justified in losing my temper because someone was sitting up there telling me directly that they weren't racist while admitting that the things that clearly make anyone racist, she did. That was beyond infuriating. And it infuriates me to even think about it, if I'm being totally honest. Southwest 4x4 Explorers, thank you. It was great live, and I even sent her a message in Discord to get her to see it. That was a great live, and your questions were fantastic. It was a great live. And I messaged her on Twitter and told her, because I was blown away by it. We're discussing Down the Rabbit Hole news now. She was fantastic. She asked all the right questions, and especially for someone who hasn't really followed the fuckery that is the Critical K so much. She did a fantastic job, and I applaud her for getting to the bottom of so many facts with this gentleman. And I applaud her for spreading the awareness of a victim fighting back. So that was extremely, extremely, I was extremely grateful to her for that. So, and I still am. So, I'm going to go ahead and, let's discuss the lawsuit real quick. Originally, she was sued for $10 million. She doesn't have $10 million. So the default judgment, because she basically just refused to respond to this lawsuit, she just canceled. Karen basically threw a little temper tantrum, a child's temper tantrum, and went, la, 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 you can't sue me. That's harassment, la, 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 la. And that's just not how the law works. So it was just very funny. Morbid took the video down. He made it private, but it's been clipped 100 times, so it's out there. But here is a post of what Ray Andriacchio was ultimately afforded in this lawsuit. So, right here, we're looking at this tweet. I'm not sure who the creator is or who the person is who tweeted this, but this is accurate. Ray Andriacchio was awarded the following judgment in her defamation case against Karen Yaks, aka Critical K: $325,000 in compensatory damages, $165,000 in punitive damages, and $11,000 in attorney's fees. And it's going to be interesting to hear this attorney explain the attorney's fees. And that is a big deal. Great work on this case. Absolutely. I concur with that tweet 150%. Because, I mean, listen, folks. To quote the great Quentin Tarantino, you only need to hang mean bastards, but mean bastards, you need to hang. 100%. So here's the interview. She cut down her live and put out just the interview here. So we're going to watch that. Grandmaster Sid Sophos, thank you so much. Big up the glare, the real Shazam. Whoa! Hell yeah. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. Shazam, Shazam, Shazam. All right.
Got you here on camera. You are here, sir. Sir, you are the attorney for the Andriacchio, sir?
Yes, I am. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Do you want to tell us? I mean, I'm not an attorney. Do you want to give us an idea of what happened with this? I mean, the lady didn't even show up to court, it sounds like, right?
Leslie Kohler gifted 5 memberships.
Okay.
Leslie Kohler, let's see. Thank you so much. Cheesy Wheezy, Nana all day was gifted a membership, even though she's acting like an asshole in my chat. But congrats anyway. Sunshine Dragonfly, Murica, all right, and MJ, awesome. Congrats, guys. Thank you.
So what happened is we filed a lawsuit against her in summer of 21, and the complaint alleged the various things that Kay had said that we found objectionable.
Mm-hmm.
And we filed a complaint in federal court, and then we prepared a summons, and she was served with personal service as you normally would have in a lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kay filed what's called a motion to dismiss. Now, she was acting pro se, meaning she didn't have a lawyer. So she was doing this herself.
Cherry, I see you're in chat. Could you do me a big solid, please, and give me that motion to dismiss in Discord? I know you've given it to me before, but I'm gonna have a hell of a time looking for it and finding it. So if you could just grab it for me, I would really appreciate it. And yes, no, don't do it. Don't say if you could just grab it for me, Glare 2023. Don't do it. Don't do it. Just grab the motion to dismiss, please. Post it in Discord for me, please. Thank you.
And she raised her primary objection was the fact that she was upset that we sued her in Mississippi,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to suing her in Michigan, where she lives.
The motion to dismiss, Cherry.
But our basis for suing her in Mississippi was that some of the things that she said were actually directed to Mississippi residents while she was on the phone interviewing somebody.
Wow.
Okay, so in other words,
and I ended up really digging this guy, man. Like watching this on her stream, I was like, I fucking love this guy, bro. Like, I mean, dude is an MVP, bro. Just straight up awesome. We need to give this guy a round of applause real quick.
one of the things she said, and I won't repeat it because it's in the complaint, she was having a conversation with a couple of guys, and one of the fellas, at least one of the fellas, could have been both the fellas, we thought both the fellas, but certainly one of them was a Mississippi resident. And because she made a contact with somebody in Mississippi while making the allegations that we are alleging, while saying the things in question, she subjected herself to the personal jurisdiction of the state of Mississippi.
Okay.
Okay. So, whereas, like, for example, Without a Crystal Ball and some other YouTubers have sat in their homes and whatever states they're in, bad-mouthing people in other states, because they didn't necessarily direct their communications to that state by focusing on, by contacting people in that state and making those minimum contacts, those YouTubers couldn't be sued anywhere other than their home state. But
see, that's fascinating, because I wondered about this. I wondered about this when it came to Katie Joy and her dumbass. So it's really cool to hear him like clear this up and actually bring her up and use her as an example. It was like, this was way more informative than I ever could have hoped.
But in this particular case, because she made these statements, or at least one set of statements, to a Mississippi resident while on the phone interviewing that person on YouTube,
Right.
she subjected herself to the jurisdiction of the state of Mississippi.
Oh my God.
Okay. So because she subjected herself to the jurisdiction of the state of Mississippi, we had the option of filing suit either in Michigan, where she lives, okay, or filing suit in Mississippi, where we live. We thought, why not? We'll just file suit in Mississippi. So she moved to dismiss. And in her motion, she raised, well, let me back up and give you some more information about how personal jurisdiction works. You have to follow two guidelines as far as personal jurisdiction is concerned. The first thing you have to do is comply with the state long-arm jurisdiction statute. So, for example, some states like Tennessee and Mississippi have a very broad long-arm jurisdiction statute. I practice in both states. Other states have a fairly narrow long-arm jurisdiction statute. So in those narrow states, it's a little bit harder to sue somebody from an outside jurisdiction. Whereas in Mississippi or Tennessee, if you've committed a tort in whole or in part in that state, you can be sued in that state. You see what I mean? Okay.
Yeah.
As far as the state is concerned. So that's the first box you have to check. But the other box you have to check is the federal Constitution. And under the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution, just one second, I'm going to make sure I'm on Do Not Disturb. I'm in on my phone.
Do you mind if I show, because I just pulled up your website. Do you mind if I show them your website so everybody knows what it? Perfect. Yeah. Okay. While you're talking, keep going.
So the main concern in an evaluation of
dude,
personal jurisdiction on a
I love this guy, bro. Like tell me that is like not the greatest thing you've ever seen. Like this guy is straight up like tearing a page out of Better Call Saul, who is I mean, let's face it, Better Call Saul, that character is a shyster. Like the shadiest character of any TV show ever, pretty much. And this guy is so gutsy that he's going to tear a page out of that and wear a bow tie with a thumbs up on his website. I love this guy. And I love that it was this guy that took Canceled Karen to school. I love it.
On a 14th Amendment standard, the first thing you have to look at is whether or not you have minimum contacts with the forum state. And I'll give you an example. Ma'am, what state are you in, if you don't mind me asking?
I would rather not say.
Okay.
Can I just throw out a state? Could I just say?
Just throw out a state. Okay?
I'm going to throw out New Mexico.
All right. Well, let's say you're in New Mexico.
Okay.
All right. And let's say you're driving around in New Mexico and you rear end somebody in the car who happens to be from, I don't know, let's say Kansas. Okay. All right. And that person from Kansas wants to sue you, and they go back to Kansas and decide to file suit against you in Kansas. Well, goodness gracious.
Now, I got to tell you guys, I missed Toast's live tonight. I have some other stuff going on right now, and I just couldn't catch it. But I believe that she went over the BHB lawsuit against Queen Bee. I will be catching the replay later and checking that out. But I gotta tell you, I'm all for I full disclosure, I have plenty of reasons why I don't particularly care for Queen Bee. I have no interest in attacking her. I have no interest in going over the reasons why I don't particularly care for her much. She doesn't particularly care for me either. That's fine. For the sake of our shared are shared supporters. It's unfair to put them in that position. So I think that we've both kind of silently decided to not discuss those things. But I am in full support of Queen Bee in regards to this lawsuit. And it's not because I have some sort of contempt for Butthurt Betty. It's not because of that. It's because the lawsuit is garbage. The lawsuit is an asswipe. And it doesn't take an attorney to realize this. It's clear. The claims she made in this lawsuit are blatant lies that can be easily disproven. So what it turns out to be, in my opinion, is she underestimated Queen Bee. She underestimated her community and the support that she would get from her community, and being able to hire an attorney and actually fight her head on this frivolous lawsuit, because that's exactly what it is. It's 100% frivolous. It's ridiculous. And it is a mockery of the civil justice system, an absolute mockery of it. So I full on, absolutely 150% support Queen Bee in this lawsuit. Absolutely.
You've never stepped foot in Kansas. You didn't, direct your negligence
in Kansas
toward the state of Kansas in any way.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be unfair for you to have to go to Kansas to defend that suit. Now, having said that,
I haven't seen this. She again, I missed the live, but the reason why, Tracy, your comment is fucking hysterical is because Canceled Karen did the same thing in the I'm gonna check the DMs in a second. Cherry, calm down. By the way, yeah, apparently you don't tell women to calm down, but I'm a misogynist, so but so yeah, what's really funny is Canceled Karen did the same thing. She tried to use the same strategy, which was hilarious. It is hilarious. Canceled Karen tried to do exactly the same thing. Don't contact me again. Stop harassing me. That's not how a lawsuit works. Like, you got to respond to it. It's the law.
That if you were sending somebody hate messages or sending somebody, I'm trying to think, I don't know.
Verbal hate messages?
See,
well, I mean, not just, I'm trying
now, I want to stay on task here on the Canceled Karen stuff. Cheesy Weezy member for 6 months. Welcome to Logic. Film yourself while watching Toasty streams, please. I do want to stay on task here as much as possible, but I will say that it's very funny. This is why they say that a fool who a person who represents themselves in court has a fool for a client, right? The reason why that is this is a perfect example of this. And Kate Breton, drone pilot, is saying the glare she's representing herself and refuses to speak to defense counsel until before the judge. And this is where BHB is a fucking moron, okay? Because she doesn't seem to understand that there's things being said in between the lines in her actions, things that her actions are dictating that the judge is seeing, okay? Because what that shows the judge is that there is a refusal to come to some sort of civil agreement. That's why it's called civil court. And if you are showing that you are not willing to be civil with the person that you're suing, well, it comes off as a bad look to the judge. She doesn't see this. She doesn't understand this because she's just she's so worried about her rights and what she has the right to do and what not to do. Sure, you have the right to do it, but should you? BHB's a moron, like an utter complete moron. So real quick, let me show all right. Well, I'm not going to show it because it's not redacted and I don't know what it shows. But because I mean, if it has her address or something in there, I don't want to show that. Let me just look at it real quick. So here's her motion to dismiss. I believe that's what that is. So the factual and procedural history states that Ray Andriacchio, the mother of Christian Andriacchio, a young man who allegedly died under suspicious circumstances in 2014, okay, let me skip that. Defendant Karen Yax is a prominent social media figure known to her followers as the Critical K. She operates a webcast where she discusses real crime stories, and she is a resident of Michigan. On March 21st and April 11th, 2021, Yax discussed Christian Andriacchio's death on her webcast, stated that Ray Andriacchio has really dominated the narrative about this case via intimidation, bullying, outright lies, bribery, getting people drunk, and getting people drunk, among other claims. It states that twice. Yax also stated, I do believe that Hayes was treated by Ray, and Hayes is now dead with a drug overdose, who's a victim. I don't want to call him a victim as though he's subject to someone's attack, but she claims that he's dead by self-harm. So she has a son that is dead by self-harm, and she has a patient who is dead by self-harm. Andriacchio is a nurse. Andriacchio contends that these statements, the false impression, had somehow caused or contributed to their deaths. Andriacchio adds to these statements have defamed or painted her in a false light, thereby causing her to suffer injury to her reputation and emotional damage. She filed a suit against Yax on June 4th, 2021, alleging defamation and false light invasion of privacy. Yax filled her answer on June 24th, 2021, or filed her answer on June 24th, 2021, in which she asserted that this court lacks personal jurisdiction over her. Canceled Karen then filed a motion to dismiss on August 12th, 2021, which the court subsequently denied on November 19th, 2021. This is not what I asked for, Cherry. Get your shit together. I'm just kidding. On November 30th, 2021, the magistrate judge assigned to this case scheduled a telephonic case management conference for December 14th, 2021. Court staff mailed email notice hearing to Yax. Yax failed to dial into the conference. So they gave her the opportunity. This is very important, folks. They gave Canceled Karen the opportunity to appear to court telephonically, meaning that she could have called in on the telephone and attended in that way. And she even refused to do that. So here she is, an official subpoena to show up to court. And the court took into consideration that she lives in Michigan, but may not be able to travel to Mississippi, and gave her the opportunity to attend over the phone. So, and she did have an extension. Okay. At the bottom. All right, I'll keep that in mind. Let me take a look here. I just don't want to go over anything that that doxes anyone. So she also acknowledges in her filings, canceled Karen does, that her presence would be beneficial to the court in adjudicating this unfortunate matter. She has texted a third party explaining that she will not come to Mississippi for this case ever, quote unquote. So yeah, I'm just kind of I'm perusing this because I just want to touch it with kids' gloves. Because I don't have this memorized and I'm not sure where this may show anybody's personal information. So basically, I mean, it's all right here, but basically she I looked at the last page. I didn't see what you were talking about. She basically just flat out refused to cooperate with the court at all. And she was given the opportunity to show up or to not even have to show up, but just simply call the court and attend that way. So yeah. Let's get back to this interview here.
Trying to get into a different example that's not from this case. Let's say, for example, I don't know, you were sending obscene messages or photos to somebody you knew in Kansas.
Okay.
And you were using the mails to do that. Well,
Gotcha.
then you would be subjecting yourself to that jurisdiction, even if you've never been there. You see what I mean? Okay.
Gotcha.
All right. So if you've got the long arm jurisdiction and you've got the minimum contacts, then the feds start looking at things like, okay, which forum is going to be the better for everybody? So, for example, if all the witnesses are in one state as opposed to another state, if it's more burdensome for the defendant to come to one state as opposed to the plaintiff going to the other state or vice versa, those end up being kind of factors that are added into it to determine whether there's fundamental fairness in you actually being sued there. Okay. And Kay was trying to make those arguments in her motion to dismiss. But where she messed up was that in one of the briefs, in one of the motions, I don't know if it was her original motion or if it was in a response to my brief, I can't remember exactly. She, because she doesn't file electronically, she mailed the briefs. And whenever you file something in federal court by mail, the clerk takes the envelope and files the envelope with the court.
So she didn't even know how to.
So basically what he's saying is she made herself subject to the jurisdiction of Mississippi because she mailed her filings to the court. What a maroon. Oh my God. Kay, like, what were you thinking?
Well, he can't outsmart me because I'm a moron.
Exactly.
Know how to do just the basic.
Well, no. I'm not. No. Don't misunderstand me. What I'm getting at is that lawyers have to be hooked into the system to file electronically.
Right,
okay?
right.
Non-lawyers don't usually have that benefit, so they have to file by mail. Okay, so
Right.
there was nothing wrong with her doing that. Okay, but when the clerks get the envelope from somebody who is filed by mail, they digitize photo of the pleading, but they also take a digital photo of the envelope.
Well, I've read the motion to dismiss on here before, and it's hilarious because Canceled Karen thought that the court was going to grant her a dismissal due to the fact that she couldn't afford an attorney. That's not grounds to dismiss. I mean, I'm not an attorney, but I would imagine that's just simply not grounds to dismiss. Leslie Kohler gifted 1 membership. Thank you so much for that. And that went to Platform Boots. Congrats and thank you.
For whatever reason. I don't know why. Well, I was looking at the court records and I found the digital photo of the envelope. And she had mailed the item from Hawaii.
What?
Yes, she had mailed her motion to dismiss, or at least the brief. I can't remember which one. And it was from Express Mail, and it had a postage mark from Honolulu, Hawaii. She was on vacation.
Okay. Are you hearing this? He's about to say that she was on vacation but I paused it right before that. This is hilarious because she couldn't afford an attorney to defend herself in a $10 million lawsuit, but she could go on vacation to Honolulu, Hawaii. Karen. What do you think the judge is going to say there, bro? Like, what?
On vacation in Honolulu. And in her brief and in her motion, she was.
And I love, look at Rabbit. I love that Rabbit like didn't really follow this in real time the way that a lot of us did. I love that because she didn't. This is because it's the same reason why I like to do reaction videos. This is not a reaction video so much, but I love to do reaction videos because to me, I think I find them to be more entertaining. And this is Rabbit's reaction to the facts of this lawsuit, which is priceless. Like, look at her right now. My pause game is on point. This is Rabbit reacting to the fact that she went on vacation to Honolulu, Hawaii, yet couldn't afford a lawyer. Okay. And tried to like get her case dismissed because she couldn't afford a lawyer. Like as if that's grounds at all anyway. Oh, is this the right thing finally? No, I don't think it is. God, you are just messing up, bro. Art the Clown. Let's see. Art the Clown. Thank you. I'm not sure about the law in Michigan, but in most states, if there is malice in defamation, you can't file bankruptcy. 500K with garnished wages. Yeah. Isn't that a motherfucker for K? And what's up, Art the Clown? Is that? Okay. Thank you so much, Art the Clown.
Was claiming poverty, saying that she couldn't afford to come to Mississippi to stand in a hearing.
Now, wait a minute, Mr. Matt, you know, if I was going to be really, really in poverty, Hawaii would be the state. I'm just going to say that. It's a nice state. You know what I'm saying? It's a nice state.
Now, in her defense, she represented to the court that, well, it wasn't my money. It was my mother-in-law or somebody taking us on a family vacation. And look, having been on family vacations that other people paid for, I understand that's possible. Okay.
It's possible.
But if somebody is willing to lay down the money for you to take a plane to to Hawaii on a vacation, why in the hell didn't they lay down the money for you to defend yourself in a lawsuit in Mississippi?
Very true. Hawaii's very
Exactly. Like, you know, if somebody else paid for the vacation, like if I'm getting sued for $10 million, the reason why I can't defend myself is because I can't afford an attorney. And then some loved one shares, you know, some loved one decides, you know, hey, I'm going to send you you need a vacation. You need to go relax. I'm going to be like, no, I need to take care of this lawsuit. Then I can go relax. So if you're willing to buy me a vacation, I appreciate that. But it would be a lot more beneficial to me to get me a lawyer. Oh, Gina M, I'm grateful for your super chat. Thank you, but I'm not going to read your comment out loud, and highlight it because I am not going to acknowledge that moron.
very expensive.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
It's like a 14-hour flight from Michigan, but it's only 11-hour drive to Mississippi. Come on.
Yeah.
So the suffice it to say, the federal district judge denied her motion to dismiss.
Shocker.
And he was very respectful about it. And in fact, he said that, you know, you've preserved your objection. Feel free to renew this motion later if you want to. So, okay. So now in federal court, I don't know if you've ever been sued before, if you ever been to court for any reason. Have you ever?
Yes, I have, sir.
Okay. All right. So as a dynamic, let me explain it this way. Federal court is very, very rigid about their rules. They're a lot more rigid than typically state courts are.
Right.
And whenever you file suit in federal court, after people have exchanged answers or after the court has ruled on motions to dismiss, then what happens is the court has what's called a Rule 16 scheduling conference. And let me explain. And I've had a few of these. I had a federal case not too long ago in Mississippi that was just a run-of-the-mill case. And
great point, darling Nikki. And it's great to see you again. It's been a long time. You've been in hiding. You're saying, considering how much she preaches critical thinking, you'd think she would have done that herself. Clearly not in this situation. She never does. That's what she's one of those people that throws words out there and all of her actions totally contradict her words. Canceled Karen's the queen of that.
In that particular situation, my client sued somebody, and we both had lawyers, of course. Both parties had lawyers. And so right before the Rule 16 conference, I call the other attorney. We pull out the form scheduling order and we decide, okay, how many interrogatories are we going to have? How many requests for production? How many depositions? How long is discovery going to be? You see what I'm getting at? You know, just basically the ground rules for what we're going to do. And if there's anything we can't agree to, then the magistrate is going to fix it for us. Usually it's not a big deal. So you're supposed to meet beforehand.
I mean, Leslie Kohler saying, let's see what she does next. But man, what can she do next? I mean, what she's going to do is grift like crazy. Like the fact that she's not currently just spitting out content on her Patreon right now is mind-blowing to me. But you know, I would end up getting it and going over it just because it's just fun to me to do that. I know it drives her crazy. Streaming the stuff that she puts behind a paywall amuses the shit out of me, just out of general principle.
With the other party to try to iron those things out. Well, I send Miss Yax the papers, or actually I prepare actually what I do is I contact her to see if we could work this out. And she just blows me off. I mean, it's weird. And
What
so
do you mean she blows you off? Like, because I'm hearing she's not even picking up. She's like not
she was
even showing up.
responding. Well, she was responding to emails, but she was, it was like she didn't want to have. She at one point, if I'm not mistaken, she actually intimated that she was afraid to be on the phone with me.
Why?
I don't know. I mean, listen to me. I'm flattered that somebody thinks that I'm capable of doing crazy things through the phone.
Sir, you're wearing a bow tie on your website. I'm not.
Well, gee, thank you.
I'm just saying, you look like a friendly. I'm just,
Okay, well, maybe I need to change the image.
She said, sir, you're wearing a bow tie on your website, bro. Like, oh my God, Rabbit. Killing me. Oh, that was so much fun. Like, she's gonna, Canceled Karen is gonna straight up like act like she's afraid to talk to a lawyer. That's how you deal with the situation. I'm afraid to talk to the lawyer. What? Well,
Stop breaking the law, asshole!
Thank you, Jim Carrey. I appreciate that. Exactly.
No, it's great. I'm looking at the image. I'm like, who's gonna be scared of you? I mean, you're explaining everything as it should be. I just don't know if she was, because as I'm reading some of the stuff and I read the comments, it's like she was dodging some of it.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute.
Sir,
so
you're wearing a bow tie.
You coordinate with the other attorneys and you have the proposed order. You have to have a telephone conference with the magistrate. And let me explain. In federal court, there's two types of judges, okay? There is the U.S. district judge. And the U.S. district judge is the one who is appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate and has a lifetime appointment, okay? And this particular judge, the district judge in this case, is a man, just as a frame of reference. Just happens to be a man. And in this particular case, the magistrate was a woman. Now, a magistrate in this case, a magistrate is sort of an assistant judge. Okay,
right.
This judge has only an 8-year appointment. Doesn't have to be appointed by the president, and the magistrate basically is there to take some of the load off of the district judge. Okay,
right.
All right. And they're both judges. In other words, you don't go into a magistrate judge's court and, show contempt or anything. You'll be in as much trouble as if you did it in the district judge's court. Okay. But it's just understanding the roles. All right. And so the magistrate judge, in this case, she wanted us to have a telephone conference to go over this order and to explain, okay, what, are we going to have, how many interrogatories, how many requests for production, how many requests for admissions, all that kind of stuff. And Karen didn't show up. Karen refused to call in.
Whoa.
Okay. And so,
okay,
so I'm just on the phone with the magistrate, and we're waiting.
Let's
15
pause
minutes. Maybe she'll
one
call
second
in,
here.
whatever. So she doesn't come in. Doesn't call in.
Let's pause 1 second here on that thought. So here's her motion to dismiss. Now, you guys, let me read this. If it please the court, the defendant, Karen Yaks, wishes to submit a motion to suggest that the Mississippi courts are not the ideal forum to have personal jurisdiction over the subject matter of this case. In line with the guidelines developed by U.S. courts over recent years, in such cases, blah, 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 all that stuff. Hold on. And okay, let me go back here real quick. All right, this is something else too. this isn't what I was looking for, but I guess this is the denial of her any alleged defamation. There's no way to, let me see. Okay. Any alleged defamation made by the defendant took place in the state of Michigan, not in the state of Mississippi. In running merely marginally interactive blog Critical K over the internet, Karen Yax had insufficient contact with residents of the state of Mississippi to constitute contact with residents of that state. The defendant did not intend to reach out to the state of Mississippi in any specific broadcasts. Critical K has a worldwide English-speaking audience. The Mississippi audience for the Critical K is likely minimal. Indeed, with regard to the broadcast of the Angiacchio case, the state of Mississippi was probably the last state the defendant was targeting in her broadcast, as anyone there who listened to the broadcast probably knew all the facts already and likely knew the plaintiff personally and had already formed any opinion they were likely to hold in the matter. The plaintiff did not suffer significant or any damage in the state of Mississippi as a result of these broadcasts because very few people in the state of Mississippi listen to broadcasts. Now, that is not true. Okay? This is very important. So that's actually not true. It goes on to say, and those who did already know the case well would have learned nothing extra from these broadcasts. It would be unreasonable for the state of Mississippi to claim jurisdiction over the case in the balance of convenience between plaintiff. I guess this is her motion to dismiss, but it wasn't what I was thinking of. I'm not a lawyer. Give me a break. The plaintiff the plaintiff purports to be rich, as evidenced by her claim of $10 million in damages, and has professed herself on an internet site to be entirely willing to travel to the state of Michigan on business, whereas the defendant is not rich and has 2 minor children to look after. Wow. Using your kids. That's good for you. The defendant, as a resident of Michigan and with no legal training, cannot be expected to have expertise in the complex process of the courts in the state of Mississippi, whereas the plaintiff's lawyer, Matthew Wilson, homie, has in writing professed himself willing to use the abuse his home court advantage, or been willing to use and abuse his home court advantage by leveraging his far greater knowledge of the procedures of the Mississippi courts if this case were heard in the state of Michigan, as it should be for all of the aforesaid reasons. The defendant would be much better placed to assess the competence of any lawyer operating in her state and or to have access to free local expert legal advice. So, that's funny because what she's doing there, this is the thing about her. Like, if you ever followed Canceled Karen, she's really quick to say that she could do a lawyer's job, that she likes to compare herself to a lawyer. She likes to trash lawyers that are handling certain cases and say she could do a better job. It's really funny. And here she's basically implying that she understands the law in Michigan, but she's not in that Matthew Wilson here does not she's implying that Matthew Wilson here has a home team advantage if the case is heard in Mississippi. Also, like I said, implying that if she could represent herself in Michigan, well, then she'd have a better chance of winning, like as if she knows the law in Michigan any better than she knows the law in Mississippi, which is ridiculous because she doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about.
Oh my God.
So then the judge decides, okay, well, I'll have to put her in, I'll cite her for contempt. So she cited her for contempt for failure to come to this scheduling conference, and fined her $100. To her credit, she paid.
That was the message that was going like viral. Something about all she had to pay was $100. Is that correct?
Well, that was the first thing.
Okay.
Well, there's more to come. Well, then, once you finish that scheduling conference, you can start doing what's called discovery. And that's where you send written questions to the other side, or you can start doing depositions, or you can request productions of documents and things. And we did those things. We sent requests for admissions. We sent requests for production of documents. We sent interrogatories. We sent all of the plethora of discovery that you normally do. And she responded to the request for admissions. I'll give her that. And she moved for what were called protective orders on the other things, where she was basically saying she didn't feel like she needed to answer these things, or didn't want to answer these things, or whatnot. I can't recall exactly what they were, but it's whatever it is. It's a matter of public record. One can go on the PACER website and see this. So she does this. And we have some depositions. We decide to depose some witnesses. And let me explain the background there. One of the things that we sued for was that she had made an implication. She had implied that my client had something to do with the death of her. Well, let me rephrase it. I want to be careful on how I say this. She stated in a communication with various with the people in Mississippi that we're telling about, they were talking about my client having been a healthcare provider, a mental health care provider.
Well, I want to be clear. He's not a defense attorney. He's the plaintiff's attorney in this case. I mean, he could be a defense attorney, but in this case, he is representing the plaintiff.
Provider. And she said, well, you know that Ray had a client who had a patient who killed himself. Now, I can't say whether or not this patient really was Ray's patient or not because of HIPAA, okay? Can't confirm it, can deny it.
Right. She implied it or something.
But the way she implied it was she put the words together in such a way that it was like,
I mean, it's a little bit more than an implication.
Well, Ray had a patient to commit self-harm.
Yes.
Ray had a son who committed self-harm.
Therefore,
there must be something wrong with Ray. There must be something. It was impugning her integrity in that regard. Was our position in the pleading.
Yes.
And in fact, if you read the order, that was what the judge picked up on too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's in there.
Yeah.
What amazed me is the victim's statement to how this impacted her. Overall.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute. For sure. So let's go in chronology, if you don't mind, so I don't go back and forth. So we went through discovery. We and because she had raised the issue of whether or not my client's son had committed self-harm, and obviously our position is that there was no self-harm. We used that as the basis to do some depositions of a few local witnesses, just in case we went to trial and wanted to try to explore that possibility. And Karen was invited to come to the deposition, appear even by Zoom if she wanted to, but she did not appear to, didn't want to appear. Okay, so we proceeded without her. Well, then, during this time, she never propounded any formal discovery to us. And so, okay. But we propounded some discovery to her that she never answered. For example, we propounded requests for her, basically any evidence that she had to back up what she was saying.
Right.
and she refused to provide it. In fact, that was some of the things that she was asking for in a protective order. So, long story short, discovery is finished. And the period for discovery had ended. And at this point in time, it's about late last year, the magistrate judge ordered that we have a settlement conference. And given how Miss Yax had basically blown off the court about having a telephone conference, the judge wanted this conference to be in person.
Now you could see my comment at the bottom of her screen there, because I wanted to know. This was stuff that I didn't know for sure as to if that is what prompted Ray Andriacchio to file this lawsuit. So my question was, did Ray receive any harassment as a result of Karen's statements? So I've always wondered this, but he gets around to answering because he's still answering a prior question, but he does get around to answering this.
So she ordered all the parties to come to Jackson, Mississippi for an in-person settlement conference. Well, as that date was approaching, Karen was emailing the court saying, well, I can't afford, I don't have the money, I can't do this, I can't do, whatever, excuse you can think of.
Oh my God.
So the judge says, well, listen, I said what I mean what I said. We're going to have an in-person conference.
Yeah, that's not how you do things. Like I've had to go to court with someone who will remain nameless, and nobody on YouTube, but I've had to go to court with someone, and this is the way that they dealt with the situation as well. It was just rare. And all they did was come off as just irrational. And what we were in court for, and the accusations, the things this person was being accused of, doing this and behaving like this and sending the judge all kinds of stuff without properly filing it as evidence, made her, it made my argument against her very, very valid, or it seemed very valid anyway. It didn't help is all I'm saying. So you don't just start emailing, you don't go and find out who the judge is and then start, getting their number and calling their office and leaving messages and sending emails. You just don't do that. It's ridiculous. It's insane behavior. It's not how the law works. You have to properly file motions.
But I'm going to give you a break. I'm going to give you 30 days to arrange for travel. So she continued things at sometime in October. So I live in Northeast Mississippi. I live about 3 hours away from Jackson. So night before I drive down there, I check into a hotel. I get up the next morning. I go to court. My client goes in through, she lives 2 hours away. So she drives to court that morning. Mm-hmm. We get there. And,
Yeah, well, Cape Breton drone pilot. The judge is actually a woman, I believe. Or at least at one point. But you're right. She was granted an extension. Okay, I'm going to try to make this as easy for you, but she has to make it fair for her client as well. And Karen's actions are showing that she has no interest in the fairness of her client, which also indicates loosely that she's very capable of the defamation that she's being accused of. It doesn't prove it, but it shows that she's definitely capable of it when she's not showing any actual empathy for this person.
Karen doesn't show up.
Oh my God.
And
so the point he's just making, he's like, I live like an hour and a half from that courthouse, and he had to make these travel arrangements. I mean, it's not that long of a drive, but that's a drive, man. An hour and a half without traffic. And so she's gonna so she doesn't take into consideration that the other people showing up to court, it's a big waste of their time. It's a big waste of their personal resources to be able to go to court. So she basically showed the court itself a complete lack of respect by not showing up, which is why a judge will normally hold you in contempt for this.
And it's best as we would later find out, and as the court mentioned in one of its previous in the order granting the default, about the time court was starting, Karen was tweeting, or not tweeting, she was communicating with somebody that, hey, they fined me $100 the last time, but there's no way I'm coming to Mississippi. I'm just not coming.
Oh my God.
So basically, she just flipped off the court.
She blew it off.
She blew it off.
Oh my
So,
God.
I moved the court for sanctions. I filed 2 motions.
Boy,
I filed a motion for sanctions because I needed to be reimbursed for my time and my travel.
Right.
And for my client's time and travel. And that ended up being a little bit less than $900. And the magistrate judge, granted that sanction. But the magistrate judge didn't have the authority to entertain the next motion that I filed. And that next motion I filed was a motion for default judgment. And I'll explain why I did that. There is, under that Rule 16 I was telling you about, there's a provision that says that if you don't show up to a scheduling conference like you've been asked to do, the other party or the court on its own motion can, well, I think actually I take that back. I think it has to be the other party has to move. The other party can move for sanctions. And it makes reference to another part of the rule book. And in that other part, it lists all the various things that you can ask for. And none of the other things would have been a material, or it would have aided this situation, except for one thing, and that was for a default judgment. So I moved for a default judgment. Well, back in May, actually a little bit earlier than that, probably in April, the federal district judge, the one appointed by the president, I believe he was appointed by President Clinton, or was it Obama? Can't remember. No, I think he was appointed by Obama. The other judge, little aside, the other district judge that I'm thinking of was appointed by President Clinton. In fact, they were law school buddies. That other judge, but not this judge. This judge, I think, was appointed by President Obama. But anyway, he entertains the motion, and he files an answer. Not an answer, but he files an order granting the default. And he goes into all of the analysis as to why a default is particularly appropriate under the rules under the precedents of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is what governs us.
Granted the default.
And then he said, okay, we're going to set this for a hearing on damages. Long story short, that hearing for damage was conducted in May. We had that hearing, and that's when I put my client on the stand. And we also played the videos of all the things that had been said online. Now, I'm going to give you some insight to how that day progressed.
This is interesting. I'm going to hear that one more time.
My client on the stand. We had that hearing, and that's when I put my client on the stand. And we also played the videos of all the things that had been said online. Now, I'm going to give you
So at this point, what he's saying, in case you were distracted, because I get distracted, the picture he's painting here is they had this hearing anyway, regardless of whether Karen shows up. And they have this hearing, and he puts his client, Ray Andriacchio, on the stand, and they show the footage. They show canceled Karen's content in question.
Insight to how that day progressed. We had our hearing, I want to say around lunchtime. And the reason it was around lunchtime was because this particular federal district judge was conducting a federal criminal trial on, I believe it was drug trafficking. So, I mean, there were a lot of U.S. attorneys there, and there was, of course, the public defender's attorneys, representing this gentleman. And so they had an awful lot of stuff going on that day. But the judge wanted to fit us in a break. And so we were doing this during the break, and we spent a good hour, maybe an hour and a half in there doing the hearing. And by the time we were wrapping up, people were coming back into the gallery, other lawyers and whatnot for that hearing for the big trial. And these, of course, people are not at all interested in YouTube or true crime. They know nothing about this case. And I remember walking out, and I saw one of the attorneys. I don't know if it was a public defender. I don't know if it was a USA. But as I was walking out, you could look and see the look of astonishment on their faces when they heard what this woman was saying on YouTube.
Bro,
they heard the footage?
Yeah, because we had that as evidence at the hearing, and we
right. So he had her content as evidence, and he's painting this picture stating that once he showed the court, everyone in the courtroom, the crazy, insane things that she was saying on her channel, which is exactly why she's been canceled, showing the blatant online harassment against this man's client. He's saying that everyone in the courtroom was just mind blown, like, because we're talking about people who do civil court for a living. You know what I mean? This is their thing. So they're going to look at this and be like, I can't believe that this person with a brain who goes out of her way to sound intelligent is making herself this blatantly subject to a lawsuit of defamation. Because I believe that's the picture I'm painting, I believe that that's what made that was a big percentage of the astonishment coming from everybody else in the court. Like, what? Did she say that out loud and not realize that she was going to get dragged into court? Huh?
to play that for the court.
Oh my God.
And I remember when I walked out, one of the attorneys to my right looked and said, I wish you luck. Because, I mean, and her eyes were just like wide open. I mean, it was just, they were just dumbfounded by what had happened. So we presented our evidence, presented our damages, presented the testimony that you read from the victim. And
now, people, I don't remember the last time I've ever heard an attorney who worked a case be this candid about the details of the proceedings. And I love that Canceled Karen saw this, because you know she did, and is getting this picture painted for her. even though she didn't have the fortitude to show up and face the music, she's now still hearing the details coming from Ray Andriacchio's lawyer as to what the feelings were, or at least seemed like, in that courtroom amongst other attorneys who were just observing and being like, what? It's killing me right now. Like, this guy being so candid is amazing.
And then we just waited for the judge to rule, and of course the judge ruled this week and gave us the default judgment in question with the amount of money and closed the case up. So that's what's happened in this case.
My goodness. My goodness. So how are you? And one of the questions, and this is a glare, did Ray receive any harassment as a result of Karen's statement? And I believe her job had been called.
That's right. There, and that the court references that in the order, so I'll refer to the order on that. But in her testimony and as reflected in that order, the judge noted that there were, I think it may be on page 4 or 5 of the order. Why don't you go
Yes.
look at that?
Here it is. The court finds Andriacchio's testimony compelling.
Now, I love that Rabbit like had all this ready. Like, she's way more prepared at this stuff than I am. She had all of this ready to refer to while she's getting all of this testimony, for lack of a better term, from this attorney. It's amazing.
The mental and emotional toll Yak's false statements.
Okay, Rojo. The channel is Down the Rabbit Hole News. If one of my mods can drop her link in the chat, that'd be great. But the link to this video itself is in the description. So please mosey on over there and click on it and give it a like. That would be really, really great, because she deserves all the likes for this.
Have taken on Andriacchio was obvious at the hearing. Being accused of bribing witnesses is one thing. Being accused of contributing to your own child's death is another altogether. Yak's false statements cause real harm and warrants damages. My goodness. So they accused her. Let me go up a paragraph because I read ahead. But Andriacchio explained at length the effects of Yak's statements.
Thank you, Hack.
Had on her life in her community.
And thank you, Cherry, for digging that stuff up for me so I could refer to it so quickly. I really appreciate that.
Webcast, people filed complaints about Andriacchio with the Mississippi Board of Nursing, which opened an investigation and found nothing. People called Andriacchio's employers. They accused her of embezzlement via complaints filed with the Mississippi Secretary of State, which commenced its own investigation and again found nothing. For a sense of how baseless these allegations were, listeners even accused Andriacchio of overprescribing opioids, a class of drug that Andriacchio does not prescribe.
Wow.
This is crazy.
Wow.
Now, sir, you're not a YouTuber, but how do you think about how YouTubers get down at this point when they do this kind of stuff? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think people can get carried away no matter what whether they're YouTubers, whether they're walking around on the street. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The practical reality is that, number one, we have an awful lot of freedom with the First Amendment, and I respect that and I celebrate that. But one thing that you're not allowed to do is to defame other people.
All right.
So it's important to make sure with the First Amendment free. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is important.
The practical reality is that
listen up, Battery Betty.
Number one, we have an awful lot of freedom with the First Amendment, and I respect that and I celebrate that. But, one thing that you're not allowed to do is to defame other people.
That's right.
So it's important to make sure that, that when you say things online, that you can back up what you say with reliable sources, not hearsay within hearsay within hearsay and innuendo and gossip, but literal, reliable sources. And then I would also say that if you are purporting to be an impartial person talking about the news or anything along those lines, be impartial. Okay. Here's an example of what I mean. Neither one of us were around in 1963 when President Kennedy was shot and killed.
Right.
Okay?
I wasn't.
No, I wasn't either. But that being the case, we all who know something about history have opinions about what happened that day. There are some people who believe Oswald did it by himself. There are some people who believe he was a patsy for the Russians, or the mob made him do it, or the CIA made him do it, or maybe there was another person who did it. And so there are various different theories about what happened. And as such, every one of these theories rely on some of the facts that have been presented in evidence. Okay.
Now, those theories are heavily explored in the movie JFK by Oliver Stone. Problem is, Oliver Stone likes to do a lot of acid. That is not that is not a rumor. He's pretty open about it. He likes his psychedelics. So that goes into question of credibility, but he does a pretty damn good job because that's a really long movie. But there's a lot to it. I had to watch the movie JFK like 5 times because listen, I'm not very well educated at all. I'm not even that smart, to say the least, to put it mildly. But I had to watch that movie to understand, because there was a lot of information in that movie and a lot of theories being thrown around. Same thing when I watched The Big Short. I had to watch The Big Short because I don't understand anything about money. I'm terrible with money. I don't know how to make money. I don't know. I don't know how to do anything with money. So when they're talking about the housing market, which I've never owned a house, I've never had a mortgage, I don't know these things. So when I was watching The Big Short, as brilliant of a movie as that is, in order to fully understand it, I had to watch it like 3 times, 4 times. But I still enjoy the movie, even though I now understand it. So I'll still, even if I like a movie enough, I'll watch it over and over again. But JFK, I highly recommend it, but I'm just saying there's a lot of conspiracy theories being thrown around in that movie.
And you can do that respectfully. Okay. But when, and you can even advocate for any one of those theories you want. But I think what happens sometimes, though, on YouTube is that, moving it back to the real world scenarios we're talking about now, is that you can take one side to such an extreme where you are wanting to destroy everybody on the other side.
Absolutely.
Okay. I mean, there's no need for that.
Right.
All you have to do is present your position, and I think there's something about having a whole bunch of likes. There's something about having a whole bunch of
people.
Yeah. And one of the things that you have a responsibility to do to yourself, I suppose, is your goal is to keep an audience and maintain an audience.
Absolutely.
And to do that, you have to produce content that's interesting to your audience.
Right.
And I think sometimes people want to become sensational in what they do in order to attract an audience and keep an audience, because they want to be set apart and different from everyone else.
Right.
and there may be a place for that in some respects, but when you go and you stick your neck out so far that you cross lines that you're not supposed to cross, then you gotta there's got to be some
You got to pay.
consequence
You
to
got to
that.
pay the piper.
Absolutely. Absolutely. True Crime Dime says, thank you for your time, Mr. Matt. Rabbit, please ask him if she can appeal this, or is it over? What happens if she doesn't pay?
Well, there is a mechanism for anybody to appeal an order. I'm not going to delve into that because she needs to. I'm for all I know, people she may be watching this, and I don't want to give them any ideas on how to do their job.
Absolutely.
And you could see my question highlighted there as well, because this is something that I was wondering immediately, and the way he answers it is already pretty much what I figured. But I need that validation from an attorney when. That's one of my favorite things is like discussing things that are law related on this channel. I like to discuss those things, but I'm always like, well, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't really know. But it's really, really nice when a guy with such little education as myself says things and thinks things and they're validated by an actual attorney. I truly, truly enjoy that. So you'll see he basically answers this in the most logical way possible, and I'm really grateful for that. And I'm really grateful to Rabbit for highlighting my comment as well.
That's a good question. Why was Ray only awarded $500,000 when the suit was for $10 million?
Yes.
Well, the judge wanted to. Well, here's the thing. The most important thing a judge can do when issuing any type of order or judgment is to protect that judgment.
Right.
Okay. And for that reason, I think that the judge, and if you read the order carefully, the judge was not concerned in the least about any value that we ascribed to the damages. Okay. He needed to look and see what the law and the precedents of other similar cases would permit to allow for that. Okay.
Okay, so that's actually really interesting. So he's saying that the judge has to kind of more or less reference past cases and see what and base fairness on how other judges in the past handling other cases, because I mean they're all on the same team here, that team being justice for victims, justice for anyone who deserves justice. So that judge is going to refer to other cases. That's why you always see lawyers, I'm assuming that's why you always see lawyers go based on this case from 1972, this person versus this person 1981, so on and so forth. So that's step one here in answering my question. And Tracy, I really don't have knowledge of the law at all. I appreciate you saying that, but I really don't have any knowledge of the law at all. But I feel like I can take pride in understanding what's fair and what's right. I think I have a pretty good knack for that. And I trust my justice system to at least be designed to deliver that fairness and that justice. So I guess that's why sometimes the things that I say in theory are validated by people who are actually work these cases, and are educated. maybe that's it, but make no mistake, I do not have any real knowledge of the law in the slightest bit. I really don't.
Right.
And I think this judge was being very, very careful not to overdo it, because he wants to make sure that the integrity of this judgment is preserved if there ever is an appeal of some sort. But at the same time, he also wanted to make it crystal clear that what we have accused her of doing is unacceptable and should not be countenanced. Do you see what I'm getting at?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Right, because as I'm always saying, canceled Karen does not have $10 million. So how are you going to force her to pay $10 million? She's not going to be able to ever come up with $10 million. She's not going to, what is she just going to win the lottery? So, the judge has to present a fair judgment. The judge has to say, okay, well, in the interest of fairness, in the interest of reality here, we're going to make it to where the plaintiff is compensated, but also in a realistic manner, because this person doesn't have $10 million. So basically, this $500,000 judgment, I mean, we're talking, I did the math. That means that canceled Karen is going to be, I did the math on this. Canceled Karen is going to be paying somewhere north of $800 a month for the next 50 years. So yikes. Can anybody, I mean, is there anybody in this chat really that could afford another $800 a month bill? I mean, it would have been cheaper just to not go to Hawaii and get a lawyer, dude. You know what I mean? Now, she probably still would have lost, but I mean, yeah, like, dude, $800 a month. Like, that's insane.
In fact, if you look at this order, and I was impressed with what the judge did. So he took a case from 1917 where a person was given $5,000 of damage for essentially the equivalent of what we've accused today. Of course, we didn't have YouTube or computers or anything like that 100 years ago. But anyway.
Right.
But what this judge did was he adjusted what $5,000 was in 1917 by inflation to see what it would be today.
Oh.
And he let that be a bottom bound for a minimum amount of the order. And then he took a case from a few years ago where somebody for emotional distress got
okay. So I guess another judge came along and is a male judge. I think she had a female judge at first, or there was a female judge appointed to the case. He did explain all this, but it went over my head. I'm thinking about it now, and he absolutely did explain all of this, the difference between a magistrate judge and all that. But this is a very, very interesting breakdown. He's saying that the cases that the judge went back and referred to in past cases like this in the state of Mississippi, I guess, maybe, but unless it's a federal thing, I don't know. But applied the inflation that would take place from that time before to what it would be today, and applied that minimum. So the judge still went very easy on canceled Karen. Thank you, Christy M, for clearing that up. I appreciate that. See, this is why I love having a chat. You guys are smart. You guys get to be smart for me. I love it. You guys are amazing. Thank you.
$500,000 in Mississippi for damages because an insurance claim had not been granted. So he let that be the upper bound. And then in his discretion, he decided what that number in the middle should be based on the facts of this case.
Gotcha.
Okay. So to answer the Glaire's question, it wasn't that he, I mean, like I said, he didn't factor in what we asked for in the slightest. What he wanted to do was to see You know, it's kind of like, have you ever bought a house? You know how like you get appraisals? And they
No.
look, okay. Well, this is what,
No. Never bought a house. So I gotta say though, like I'm kind of fanboying Matt here, and like I wonder if he knows my channel. That'd be so cool if he did. Only because I'm fanboying him right now. Because he knew about Without a Crystal Ball. So I'm wondering if he knew who I was, man. That would just be cool.
this is what the house across the street sold 2 years ago. This is what the house last week sold. This is okay. Well, that's essentially what the judge was doing to try to get a fair market value of what the damages are.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what he did. And he did that also with the punitives as well. Well, let me put it this way. He didn't actually do that. Let me back up. He didn't assess the punitives based on what other punitive damages were. He came up with that number himself, but it appears to be that he just decided that it would be at about 50% of what the compensatories were.
Wow. This is just, oh my gosh. Do you think that, and this is a question that a lot of people are having, it's kind of the same, but that
so based on educated opinions, comment here, of course I can afford $800 a month, but I probably won't be getting my Botox and looking my best. Oh, and my child probably won't be going on any more vacations, so life over. So even someone who lives comfortably enough to get Botox and look their best and go on these vacations, that's it. Like that's it. Like that's it. You're living your life. You're working to pay off your victim in this case. I mean, which is justice. It's absolutely justice. Car payments can absolutely be $800 a month. I mean, I'm not driving a car that costs $800 a month. There's no way.
the client that Miss Ray will actually, Miss Andraco is actually going to collect. What are your thoughts?
Well, you never know how much money a person has until you
Have to collect.
I mean, really. I mean, we gave her opportunities to show us the true condition of her finances, and she never did.
Wow.
So for all I know, she might be claiming.
Maxine Jackson's like, Christy Ebb, if she has any wages, they could be garnished. And hold on. And Rojo's like, money talks, and loudly said, shut the fuck up, Karen. Here's money talks right here. Here's what money said to canceled Karen.
You need to shut the fuck up.
Claiming poverty. I mean, let me be fair. She might actually be as broke as she says she is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, she might be, better off than I am. I don't know. But what I do know is that, a judgment can stay on the books for a long time.
Right.
You never know if somebody's going to win the lottery. So, hey.
That's true. Aaron says, Rabbit, ask Matt, do you think that this sets a fine precedence for YouTube, drama, true crime to take note and stop with the libel, slander, and spreading of false info, speculation as fact?
Yeah.
Well, I think it does.
You're right. Like, she's selling that boat. She's selling that boat. Like, she is.
But the fact of the matter is, it depends on if anybody's listening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, let's put it this way. There are precedents that are handed down in courts all the time that, most lawyers don't even know about until they're researching their next case. Okay. I mean, in the true crime world, in this universe of people who do these types of things, yeah, they've been paying a lot of attention to this case. I understand that, and I appreciate that. And so I guess that's going to be a a cautionary tale for anyone else.
And
but
I
then
love,
again,
because what he's saying right now implies to me, anyway, it could not be true, but what he's saying right now and mentioning Without a Crystal Ball as an example of being sued as well, shows me that he follows true crime. And as an attorney, he feels that there is clearly some nefarious behavior taking place in the true crime community. And he's paying close attention to it and is probably pretty passionate about it being a problem. And so I really hope that this gentleman continues to speak up and speak up against victims. I hope he starts a channel, if I'm being honest. That would be great.
If the bottom line is getting the likes and getting the shares and getting the attention, it may be one of those things that puts the pause on some of this stuff for a little bit, but 6 months to a year, it'll be back to the way it was, because that's just how human nature is.
Right. I truly hope, the lady's not on she's not supposed to be on YouTube, right? She got fired from this free app, and but somehow I feel like people find their way back.
She got fired from this free app.
It's to have that even tainted on your reputation here, it's just so crazy to me, and that people just kind of
oh my god, I love it.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, let me tell you this.
How do you get fired from a free app, bro?
As an aside, many years ago, about 15 years ago,
canceled twice.
I wrote a book on theology. And one of the things, it was about the Lord's Prayer. And one of the things that I observed in the book is that there are 3 motivations that govern every single human being.
Right.
The desire for
now pay attention to this, because I found this fascinating. Because he's absolutely right about this. Very, very, very interesting. So he wrote this book on theology, and there are, in his research in writing this book on theology, and this is clearly a very educated man, this is what he discovered here.
In the book is that there are 3 motivations that govern every single human being.
Right.
The desire for gratification, the desire for validation, and the desire for control. Okay? Think about this for a minute.
That's deep. That's deep. It's true.
All right. And, it's something very gratifying when you have a whole bunch of attaboys and likes and comments and super chats, and they're throwing the money at you
and follows.
And, that's right. Okay. And you feel a sense of control because you get to, turn the computer on at 10 o'clock at night and you're sitting there drinking a Coke and eating your Cheetos and, the camera's only showing you from up here up. So you might be in your, you might be in your jogging pants while you're sitting.
Why you have to
but...
out me like that? Matt, look, I got my Mexican candy behind me. What are you doing?
But I mean that with respect, in the sense that,
right.
you can turn this thing on anytime you want. And if you've got the audience and you've got the people that are listening, so you're in control. You're getting the validation you want when you need it. If you're having a bad day, I've seen YouTubers from the little bit that I watch, they'll get on and they'll start, having a session about how bad their day has been and this, that, or the other, and vent. And, and they've got a bunch of live chatters and streamers saying, oh, Matt, oh Bobby, oh Cindy, you're a better person. You know what I'm getting at, So you're getting the validation you need, and with the super chats, you're getting the gratification too, because you're walking away with the money. And if you're monetized, oh my goodness, you can make
You're
this a
making
full-time
money.
job.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So this is the intersection of all three rudimentary human desires, and all I'm doing is trying to put a check on it.
Nice.
Yeah. Just wow. That's a good way to put it, though. It's a great way to put. I mean, I never really. That's
So
wow.
let's think about that for a second. Let's explore that, what he just said. Briefly, just very briefly, let's explore that. So what about the motivation? Like what brings this person, what brings a person like Canceled Karen gratification when she's perfectly capable of not exploiting victims? She's perfectly capable of being informative, but what brings her gratification? Because almost every case that she talks about, she tends to go the opposite way. And then there's that sense of control, right? See, what the gratification that I get from having that sense, a sense of control here, is I can influence people as to being more aware and more empathetic towards the victims in these cases. And I take pride in that. But if you're going against the grain, against anybody else, it seems like you're literally getting off on inciting harassment. It seems like you're literally getting off on controlling how people think. Even if you believe in it or not, you're just getting off on the idea that you can have that kind of control over a large audience. That's crazy. What that is evil. It's unethical. It's disgusting. It's overly self-serving because it doesn't actually do anything good. There's no good that comes from it other than your gratification to have that kind of control over a mass amount of people. So all of these things are true. I'm motivated by the very same things that he's talking about. I will not deny it for a second. But I mean, what does a person like Canceled Karen get out of it? What does a person like Battery Betty get out of it? What does a person like JLR get out of it? If they're motivated by those three things, as we all are, according to him, if we're motivated by all these three things, what are they getting out of those three things, and why do it? What's their motivation for it? That's a very, very good way to look at these tragedy pimps, is what's their motivation for satisfying these desires, these three basic desires.
If you ever get a chance, the book is actually on the website.
Okay.
If you wanted to look and see, but at any rate,
I'll check it out.
that goes into some more detail.
No, I am intrigued. First of all, I just want to thank you for even hitting the link, because the fact that you said you were the attorney, I said, well, people say whatever they want on the chat. I didn't really know if that was you, but I'm like, let me go check. And I'm like, oh my God, it went into your website. And people were saying in the chat, are you sure he's the attorney? And then I went in there and I checked.
Well,
so,
yeah, because what are the chances of that guy
appreciate-
just randomly going through YouTube and then seeing Rabbit's stream and then being like, yo, check it out. I could totally answer any question. I could totally fill you in on the entire experience of having to deal with this woman in the courts. I'm more than happy to do it. That's the chances of that happening, because lawyers don't ever do this. They never do. So for him to do that, of course, I'm going out of my way to verify him and be like, dude, you know?
Okay, you've given us anything. Can I just ask you one more question?
Sure.
Why did you come in and watch out of curiosity? What were you curious to see? What did you think I was going to do today? If you've
Well,
never seen me
honestly,
before, right?
Well, no. I just happened to be on Facebook, and I was checking a few things, and this came up saying that you were going to have a show in about 5 minutes, and so I just
Wow.
monitored and see what people are thinking or saying, and then I realized when you started talking to people on the Facebook feed was not as
It's not the
pronounced as
best.
other things. That's right.
Yeah.
So I figured it might have been a YouTube thing. So I'll come over here. I see the super chats. I mean the live
Right.
chat. And I thought,
And
well,
that's interesting.
shake my head.
Christy M, you're making a good point. She has no, it doesn't even register to her empathy for victims, even if she's called out on it. She actually seems to have a very strange contempt for victims. Her content dictates it.
My head in and give you a little insight of what's going on. You seem like a lovely lady and nice lady,
Thank
so I'll go ahead and give you kind of some insight here, so that.
I
That
appreciate it.
was
You gave me an
really cool of
exclusive,
him
and
to
I
do
didn't
that.
even ask for it, sir.
Well, it's not.
Wow.
I wouldn't call it exclusive. I did this for someone
Oh,
else.
you did.
feedback
Okay.
for
Well,
it. Yeah.
see, now you almost made me feel better. Well, okay, thank you then.
Well, that's okay.
I didn't book him, Claire. I didn't book him. Like, I didn't know if it was the real
I
attorney,
totally
and then I
thought
looked into his
she
website. I
booked
said, "Oh,
him.
he's the real attorney."
Mhm.
Wow, that's awesome. I appreciate you at least giving us some insight because I had no idea. And somebody had sent me the paperwork. I said, "Well, let me look into this." And I don't know if you've been paying attention specifically to this community because there's so much going on right now. You had, the Gannon Stout autopsy photos on sale on Patreon
Mhm.
for $3. It's been like one thing after another, and it makes me nervous to be on YouTube to do any type of commentary.
Well, I mean, you certainly have to be careful what you do and what you say. And
Yeah.
you have to be as circumspect as you can. In my particular case, I'm pretty much just telling you what's in a court record and what a judge has already ruled. So there you
True.
have it.
Thank you. SW wants to know: is the husband responsible for Karen's debt?
Let me answer the question this way. I'm licensed to practice in Mississippi and Tennessee.
So
the collection
that question to try to attempt to word it a little bit better, as I understand it, just in case, because it kind of took me a second. Is the husband responsible for Karen's debt? Meaning, does Kay's husband, because he's married to her, is he accountable for that debt as well? Is he married to the debt as much as, he is to her, kind of a for better, for worse type thing?
Of this money is going to be more a function of Michigan law. So we'll have to defer to our local attorneys on that whenever the
To
collection
determine
action
that.
comes. Mhm.
Gotcha. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of
Mhm.
money.
It is. Well,
Do you think
I
she'll think?
I guess SF rubs people the wrong way. That would be SF investigates. Hackam doesn't like them, but let's be honest, because I haven't covered it really or at all. I don't think, honestly, I'm not even sure I've done any streams on Carlee Russell. But I've been following it, and let's face it, SF Investigates was right. I was on panel with him, Rabbit, and Ikadmel. Okay, I was on panel with the three of them, and this was before this press conference took place that revealed that there was all this evidence. And SF Investigates totally took a risk and was like, yeah, he implied in every way he possibly could, with kid gloves, of course, that that Carly Russell totally hoaxed this whole thing. And let's face it, he was right. Like the guy or not, he was right about Carly Russell. So let's just be honest.
Before doing this again, I mean, I would hope she would have learned by now, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know the lady like that, so
I don't know.
do people usually learn after being sued a couple times? I don't know what's.
I really don't know. I mean, there was a song I heard many years ago, and one of the lyrics goes, the same sun that softened wax will harden clay. Okay. I think that was an Amy Grant song from one of her albums back about 30 years ago. But anyway, basic gist of it is that there are some people you can sue them, and their personal character and their framework and their makeup is such that the heat of the sun will melt them. It'll change them. But then there are some people that lawsuit and that judgment or whatnot will just harden them to go do the same thing over and over again. So I don't know. It just depends. It's a function completely of her personality, and we'll just have to wait and see.
Wow. Are you okay if I contact you in the future? Just to
Sure, why not?
whether you answer, that's a whole different story, right? But
Yeah, you were.
oh my gosh.
Sure, why not?
Thank you, sir. I want to thank you for coming up. I appreciate your time and just giving us that other perspective that nobody was going to get out of me reading the documents, if that makes sense.
Well, I thought I'd just go ahead and do that. And
Thank you.
You seem like I could tell that you were a very pleasant person, and I thought I would just give you a shout out and see what your fans or whatnot, whatever you want, followers, listeners, supporters. That's the word we're looking for.
Supporters
would have a little bit because here's the thing I want you to understand, and I'll leave you with this, okay? I am an advocate for my client, but I'm also an attorney, and as an attorney, I have a duty to represent or to protect, let's say, the interests of justice, okay, and fairness. And so I don't want, I don't want people to go and, misunderstand anything in this judgment or in this order and unfairly run Karen's name in the ground. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
Yes.
It's fair.
This lawsuit is about something that she said about my client that was, more reprehensible. That we thought was very reprehensible.
It's damaging in so many ways.
Account for it.
Damaging in so many ways.
But at the same time, I wanted to make sure that you had a complete picture before I didn't want you to misunderstand anything in the order or whatnot, and then give the other side an unfair shellacking. I mean, give them a shellacking, but just make sure it's fair.
No, I appreciate you, and I mean everybody is appreciative of you. I'm going to put your information in the description box, so if people have more direct questions, they can just contact you. If people want to know the name of the book too, by the way.
Well, the name of the book is The Godly Path of Least Resistance, and there's a link to it on
the website.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. And I will put that in there so you guys can check it out. Thank you so much, SW. She says, Rabbit is awesome. We appreciate you, Mr. Matt. See?
Have a good night.
You're awesome. Thank you so much for stopping by, sir.
Bye.
Bye. Wow, that was awesome. I did not expect that. You never know who watches you. That's for one. You never know who watches you, who will push your link. My goodness, that is. Thank you again, Mr. Matt, for explaining that and breaking it down so that all of us non-attorneys can understand that. I'm having to head out, you guys, because I got a little baby bunny over here. But thank you so much for your support. And make sure you share, hit that like button. I might have to update the title here so that it shows that we actually spoke with Mr. Matt. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if you're watching the replay, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. We got a full day of content. All right, bye guys.
All right. That was awesome. Guys, make sure to sub up to Rabbit. Hack up put the link in the description, or put the link in the chat here. So and the link to this video that I just played is in the description. So please go into the description and click on it and give that video a like, because Rabbit deserves 1,000 times the likes that she's getting on it. So please make sure to do that. I thought that she, having not even prepared for the questions that she asked him, she did an amazing job asking him questions, and he was so candid with the information that he gave and so informative, and I'm very, very grateful. So if he's watching live or in the replay, please know that we are all in this community who care about the advocacy for victims. We're very grateful to you for what you did for Ray Andriacchio, and we're very grateful to you for sharing your experience in that case with this community. So thank you so much. Better Ask Matt. You're amazing. And I'm going to wrap this up, guys. You guys are fantastic. I'm really glad you guys hung out with me so late at night. This is a late one. I love you guys very much, and we will do this again very soon, my friends.